Hi, my name is Chris Fernandez. I'm the local Ixia SE for the Boston region. Today, I'm just going to demonstrate how easy it is to do some automation using RESTpy and Python on our IxNetwork platform. So first of all, I'm going to show you here on the middle of the screen is the chassis that I'm using. Just pay attention to the IP address here. 1080.81.12, and I'm going to be using ports 1 and 2 out of the load module number 1. So in the case of the code here, you can see this code right here, the location of the ports. So my source port is going to be 1.1, going to destination port 1.2. I'm going to run this on debug mode, and I'm going to stop before the session starts here. So right now, what I'm going to do is to create a session. Since the session is already running on my local machine, local host here in session ID 1, since I am passing in a session ID of 1, he will use the existing session. So he's going to connect to this existing session. He's going to clear any configuration that is already there. Right now it doesn't have any, but this is what the clear config here does. So I'm going to go on and I step through this code. And now I created a session attached to my local host here. Next, I'm going to add ports to my session. I have 0 ports to this session right here. And that's what this code here does. I'm going to run through this code here, and I'm going to stop right here on line 33, where actually I'm going to connect the ports to the session. So I'm going to do this. And so far, all he did is assign 2 ports to my session, but I haven't done any connections yet. The connect statement here has a force ownership set to true, meaning that if this port belongs to any other session, it will force and take those ports in and assign to my session that's running here. So I'm going to run this code, and it's going to take a few seconds, and you're going to see the ports now going from other to busy, and then ended up on up statement, on up state. The next 3 lines here of code, line 35 through 37, I am just showing how easy it is to look at any table that you have on the right of the screen and verify things that are on that table. So for example, in line 36, I'm looking at a table that has port statistics on a tab. I'm looking at link state as a column, and I'm making sure that using regular expression that all the links are in up state. So this is the link state up. And the timeout is how long he's going to wait for that to be true. And if that's not true, am I going to raise an exception or not? The default is to raise an exception. So I set it here to false so we can play around and see this in action. So right now, I'm going to look at the port statistics table. So under ports, I'm going to click on ports. Import statistics. So this is the table that this code here is going to be looking at, and he's looking at this column here to think that to see if those 2 ports are linked up. So I can run through the code, and it pass right through it. One thing I can do is, for example, I can highlight here, and I'm going to create a bad state. So I'm going to bring port number 1 to link state down. So now my link state table is no longer says up and up, and I'm going to rerun this code here. So I'm going to run this code here in evaluation mode. And over here, you can see it got evaluated to false, but it did not raise an exception. So it just gave me a false state because that's no longer true after 5 seconds of waiting. So I'm going to set this back up, set my port back up to administration state up. So this link state now should be moving up, it says link up, and I can run this code again to make sure that now I'm okay. Evaluate and debug. So now it's setting back to true. So at this point, I have attached to a session I attach 2 ports to my session, but I have no traffic. So this is what this code here it will do, and it will use source and destination ports, and we'll create a raw type of traffic where I'm gonna set the line rate at 1% line rate. I'm gonna say that all the packet sizes are the same size, 1024 bytes. I'm going to set my destination MAC address to 02 cafe, and then I'm gonna use 2 random digits here, and then I'm gonna set from 0 to 31. It's in hex. So there's 50 addresses for MAC on the destination and 50 on the source. On the source, I'm gonna be using the MAC addresses starting with 02 beef, and the destination is gonna be 02 cafe. So I'm gonna run through this code here, and I'm gonna stop right before I start traffic. So I'm just gonna run this, and then we can go back here. As you can see here, there's no traffic already. So yet, I'm gonna run through this code, and now the source and destination traffic are created here. The code stopped again here in this line, and we can take a look at what traffic got created. So as we expected, the traffic got created using 1024 packet frames at 1% line rate, and it created one traffic item using one flow group. This flow group has 50 flows. We can take a look at it and see what traffic got generated using the preview. And this preview give us the idea of what type of traffic we're sending. So we're sending 02 cafe to 02 beef from 2 randoms to 0 through 31 as expected. And we can take a look at the hex of this as well. This stack, it's just Ethernet. There's nothing else in there. And the hex view, it's just a bunch of random. The payload is random after the MAC addresses that we created. And we can play around with the payloads as necessary here too. Cancel here. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start traffic, sleep for 10 seconds, and stop traffic. And after that, I'm gonna take a look at flow statistics here. So I'm gonna run through this code here. It's gonna start traffic, sleep for 10 seconds, and stop traffic. So as you can see here, traffic is running. And traffic is stopped, and the code should return. So it returned here to flow statistics. So what this stats view again will do is going to take a look at the flow statistics table. So if I'm looking at my table here, it's under traffic. So that's the flow statistics table. And the flow statistics table is collecting stats per source MAC address. And what I'm doing here on this code is simply going through the code and printing out traffic item, the MAC address for the source, and the TX frames and RX frames. So this 5101, 5111, 5111. And also going to take a look at the frames delta. If the frames delta is above 0, it's going to consider the test as a failure. So, and this here will be printed out on the terminal here, in the terminal window on the bottom. I'm going to flow through that. So that's what it did. It collect this information and print it out here, and it printed out on my log as well. So as you can see here, you can see my MAC address, transmission rate, transmit frames, receive frames, and the test pass, no packet lost. As of this, now I'm just gonna close sessions. Since I created all this stuff, I'm just gonna do a new config, meaning reset the configuration. So this is gonna be resetting to nothing. So the configuration now it's starting from 0. And in case that I created a session using session ID, it would remove the session at this point. So that's it. That's all I wanted to show, how easy it is to automate using Ixia, Python, and IxNetwork. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Bye.